a blooming in the ash tree. Robin's looking for something sweet. Where I'm sitting beneath the eaves, not one drop will find me. A little seedling is breaking through, persistent as the thought of you. Looking out into a sea of green, thinking on the years and miles that lie between. It seems so long ago, but you're still on my mind, you know. I go walking through the trees, the water dances over stones. The April morning is clean and new, but a breeze has brought the thought of you. Looking out into a sea of green, thinking on the years and miles that lie between. It seems so long ago, but you're still on my mind, you know. I sat down by the riverside, fearing I could drink it dry and still not be satisfied, satisfied. The banks are full with all this rain, and if they'll overflow, I can't say. The crickets calling in the firelight, and a long and gentle sleep tonight. Looking out into a sea of green, thinking on the years and miles that lie between. It seems so long ago, but you're still on my mind. Yeah, you're still on my mind, you know. You know. Still on my mind, you know.
Let me tell you about my angel, the one you never see, my everyday companion, living deep inside of me. She guides me through the trenches. She gets me out of every mess. She's my Bible, she's my buddy, she's my personal GPS. Well, she leads me on my journey. She leads me to the goal. She's always on the money, never leaves me in the cold. And every time I listen, I wind up being truly blessed. She's my Bible, she's my buddy, she's my personal GPS. I'm at the fork in the road, I gotta make a choice. So much going on, I don't heed her voice. So I'll make a wrong turn, I'm feeling lost and afraid. And I hear my angel calling, recalculate. Well, I gotta pay attention, 'cause it's powerful stuff. I gotta turn it on, and I gotta turn it up. 'Cause every time I do it, you know I'm guaranteed success. She's my Bible, she's my buddy, she's my personal GPS. Play it for me, Fuzz. You bad boy. Well, I'm floating, lost and lonely. I'm drifting in the dark. Will I ever find a harbor? I don't see it on the chart. With some saying no, but someone else is whispering yes, yes, yes. She's my Bible, she's my buddy, she's my personal GPS. She's my Bible, she's my buddy, crystal clear and never muddy. She's my Watson, she's my Tano, never tardy, always pronto. She's my Sherpa, she's my guide, never runs and never hides. Truly awesome, she's the best, she's my personal GPS. My personal GPS. She's my personal GPS. Yes, she is. She's my personal GPS. Yes, yes.
The night is louder than it's been before. I hear it knocking on my walls and doors, saying soon enough it's time to go. But these precious hours, I keep you close. Of all the nights in recent memory, there were so many you were far from me, and I just hurt my heart, keeping lonely time, wishing yours was there to echo mine. If the papers would all print old news, they'd say I'm still in love with you. Let the years go by, it remains the same. What we've got is gold, and what it's worth won't change. Well, I fear I turned you upside down when I at home for me. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
We're back.
We are. Welcome to Inside Live again.
It's great to have you all here. I'm Alice Howe.
I'm Freebo.
And tonight our guest is Tom Paxton, the great Tom Paxton. I'm going to start us off with a tune.
I think it's a good idea.
Here's one we wrote together. The song is called You Just Never Know. Westward bound on the turnpike, and the sky is looking like rain. And the farther I go, the more sure I grow. I just realized something.
What's that?
My capos are backwards.
Oh my God, they are. It's a little bit like
it's
the,
a little bit like Boris Johnson.
Like Boris Johnson.
Playing
right?
behind his capo. My goodness. I have never done that before. That was a first.
That was funny. Good start. Take
I thought
two.
Something sounded a little strange.
Well,
Shall we?
it looked a little strange too. I didn't see it,
I was
fortunately.
looking at it. I was like, wait a minute. All right.
Okay, we lost 50 people. Come back. Come back.
Here we go.
1, 2, 3.
There we go. I'm westward bound on the turnpike, and the sky is looking like rain. And the farther I go, the more sure I grow. I can't go back the way that I came. I passed the exit that led to my first love. I can't say where he's living now, but a lifetime ago I'd have taken that road just as fast as those turns would allow. Am I covering ground or just spinning my wheels? Have I got farther to go? Right around the next bend it may all be revealed, but the truth is you just never know. Oh, you just never know. Well, I look to this road for my freedom, and I drove it from end to end, and it dumped me into the ocean, then it sent me right back again. Am I covering ground or just spinning my wheels? Have I got farther to go? Right around the next bend it may all be revealed, but the truth is you just never know. Oh, you just never know. I take it 1 mile at a time as I get up to speed along these white lines. I'm alone in the gathering night, adrift on a sea of little red lights. Well, I've left in a hurry, and I've taken my time, driven blinded by love, by the tears in my eyes, broken down on the shoulder, with no place to go. And I breeze through the night as I made my way home. Am I covering ground or just spinning my wheels? Have I got farther to go? Right around the next bend it may all be revealed, but the truth is you just never know. Oh, you just never know. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Should we bring in Carl?
Yes. I would like to
do that.
I would like to give him a little introduction. You know, folks, those of you who were saying they heard typing, it was like something rattling. It wasn't typing. I don't know what it was actually. It was. Is it your phone?
No.
Okay. I heard like a little. I think it might have been his mic stand. Anyway, God, don't you just love live television?
Television. I love that.
I mean, internet. Distortion and typewriter sound.
Typewriter sound.
I'm confused.
Yeah, you guys were coming a little hot all of a sudden on that. You were coming a little hotter than on sound check. I'm not sure if it was the bass of a knob got bumped, but
Weird.
I didn't hear any typewriter though.
Okay, your bass is all of a sudden maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if something got knocked, but I didn't hear any typewriters.
Tom, this is your big entrance. All right. I would like to this is weird. Okay. All right. We're going to figure it out. We just turned the bass down.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I did hear that noise. I don't know what it was. Okay. All right. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it was our teeth chattering. Okay, we're going to just pretend that didn't happen. So, Tom Paxton is somebody that I have been aware of my whole life, although I will say I didn't necessarily know it. I grew up listening to, in particular, his song, I Can't Help But Wonder Where I'm Bound. My mom used to sing it to me all the time when I was little. And it was last year when I was just humming it to myself, and I thought, man, I never knew who wrote that song. And so I looked it up, and I realized it was my friend Tom Paxton, and it just made me so happy.
It's a classic.
And it's a classic, and so many of his songs are classic. This man is a legend. Tom,
And if I may say so, Tom is a classic himself.
It's
Yes.
great to have you here, Tom. Thank you for being on our show.
You're welcome. It's
Welcome.
great to be with you. And I'm not going to use a capo on the first song, but I'm hoping to, lessons on capos from you.
Just
Freebo's the man. I know. No, although I can't blame him for that little mishap. It's because you
Well,
showed
listen.
me that photo of Boris Johnson the other day. It got into my head.
I met you, Alice, and you, Freebo, up in Montreal about 2 years ago at the Folk Alliance. I was part of a panel judging songwriters, and toward the end of the afternoon of the session, you got up and blew the house down. And I talked to you after, and I said, you know how to write a song. You understand structure. You understand that a song has to have bones, and you're great at filling them in too. It's a pleasure to watch you grow, and you're certainly one of the most beautiful singers I've ever heard. So it's nice to be with you. And
Thank you.
if I might indulge myself, I want to say that I'm glad to be with you on this particular day, because this is a very meaningful day for me. 19 years ago on this day, we all lost one of our best, a man named Dave Van Ronk. Now, it's possible that some of the people watching tonight don't know the name. Dave was never what you call famous, but he was extremely well known in the business, in folk music. Everyone knew Dave Van Ronk for a tremendous personality, a big lumbering guy with a voice that would peel paint off the wall, and he would sing a raucous howling blues, and just as the applause died down, he would go into "Would you like to swing on a star," which would really turn people's minds around. But he had the quality of friendship as few people have it, and I was preparing to go on at Freight and Salvage up in Berkeley when I got the call from my wife that David died. And I cried my eyes out. And it just hit me so hard. I mean, I knew the guy was in terrible trouble, but somehow I thought he'd pull through, and he didn't. Well, that was 19 years ago, but I still haven't forgotten him. And about 5 years ago, I finally got around to writing a song about him, which I'd like to do for you. Okay?
Please, we'd love that.
He'd been gone for many years now, that's for certain. Left a vacant spot no man can fill. They closed the door and someone drew the curtain. No one replaced him yet, and no one will. Hanging around the gaslight back in the day. Waiting for Dave, laughing with Dave and Rock, and hearing him play. It was green, green, rocky road, and play it as it plays. The devil's on the bandstand, it's a hell of a tune he plays. But the devil gets down his banjo and he reaches for the blues. When the mayor of MacDougal Street's playing the blues. When Dave Van Ronk sat down, the room got quiet. He'd strum a lazy chord on his guild guitar. Sounds so sweet it made you want to try it. It made you dream of swinging on a star. Hanging around the gaslight back in the day. Laughing with Dave and Rock and hearing him play. It was green, green, rocky road. Play it as it lays. The devil's on the bandstand. It's a hell of a tune he plays. But the devil puts down his banjo and he reaches for the booze. When the mayor of MacDougal Street playing the blues. I never knew a man to suffer fools less gladly, or to view this world of ours with more jaundice eye. I miss this friend of mine, I miss him badly. In this pygmy world, a giant came stomping by, hanging around the gaslight back in the day. Laughing with Dave and Rock and hearing him play. It was a green, green, rocky road. Play it as it lays. The devil's on the bandstand. It's a hell of a tune he plays. But the devil puts down his banjo and he reaches for the booze. When the mayor of MacDougal Street's playing the blues. Oh, the devil puts down his banjo and he reaches for the blues. When the mayor of MacDougal Street's playing blues. Rat-dat-dee-dat-rat-dat-do-do-reet-dat-do-dat-day. Rat-dat-do-dat-rat-dat, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
That's great.
I love that ending.
Dave and Rock.
Thank you for sharing about him, and it got me thinking just about the songs of his that, again, I grew up listening to, and I'd like to share one of them later. I started working on it. It's great to hear about your friendship with him and to remember.
I was talking with Dave about songwriting and lamenting that so many of the songs in my notebook were really pretty rotten. And he said, They don't remember your bad songs, Paxton. Good advice.
Can you think of a favorite memory of him?
I think my favorite memory of Dave, we were up in Bar Harbor, Maine in the summer. We were doing some public television show about sea songs or something. And Dave got there, drove up with his lady, and they pulled in around breakfast time. And we all had breakfast together, and Dave had a double Jameson's water back for breakfast. So I thought, I can't worship at that church. That's too much for me, man. But he got off of that late in life. He had to. He smoked too much, drank too much, stayed up at all hours, but he cooked gourmet meals for his friends. And he had a complete collection of Walt Disney Big Little books. They were about yay big, these things, and half pictures and half text. And I remember reading them in Chicago when I was just a little kid, and he had a full set of them. He was a weird collector. Yeah. He didn't really finish high school. He shipped out with the Merchant Marine. And yet he was the most well-read man I've ever known in my life. He had read everything. And what was more, he remembered everything he'd read. So he had a very retentive mind. He belonged to the Socialist Workers Party, which was an ultra Marxist group. And he would come to the Gaslight after a meeting. And I'd say, well, how was the meeting tonight? Because I'm so far from that stuff that you can't imagine. And he would say, well, the usual meeting is someone will get up and read a 10-page single-spaced diatribe aimed at the guy sitting next to them. Because they hated no one more than the person who nearly agreed with them. and I would say, well, how many people are in this party? He says 76. And I said, I can feel the foundations of the Republic shaking right now. But he was a pussycat. He was the sweetest man you've ever known.
I remember seeing him when I was in Philadelphia playing with the band. I think it was probably either 1970 or 71. Saw him at a place that you probably played, Tom, the Second Fret. Remember the Second Fret in Philadelphia?
Oh, yeah.
It was a wonderful little club, and I saw him there. It was the only time I ever saw him, and my most vivid memory of him, besides that kind of gruff voice and that big old guy you talked about, was he said, I just came across this song I learned. It's a wonderful song. And he played Clouds by Joni Mitchell. And obviously, but to this day, that's still my favorite version. I don't know if he ever recorded it, but
I think he did. I think he did. Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
I just loved just the way he felt it. It was something about just the way he sang it, but it was really special. I really enjoyed the show.
Well, the last time I saw Dave, I was in Cambridge, and he was playing at Passim. So of course I went. And his encore was a version of Joe Hill that I had never heard him sing. And it was so gorgeous. It had a very spare accompaniment to it. And I've asked his wife, Angela, is there a recording of that anywhere? And no, there isn't. I think he had just worked out that arrangement. And it was the best arrangement of Joe Hill I ever heard.
Wow.
And somebody actually on the chat just talked about Teddy Bear's Picnic. I also remember him doing Teddy Bear's Picnic. Yeah.
He would do that. He would sing, a prison song from the South, and that people would be stunned by that, and they would, if you go down in the woods today, and the people would say, "What? Where am I?" Is this the frequency, Kenneth? Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Do you know that song, Alice?
I
Teddy
don't.
Bear's Picnic?
I don't.
It's
If you go down in the woods today, you better go in disguise. If you go down in the woods today, you'll have a big surprise. For every day that ever was will gather there today, because today's the day the teddy bears have
their
picnic.
Oh my God! Where is that from?
It was from a radio show, right? And that's what I remember.
A radio show with Froggy the Gremlin or something. It was obviously a kid's show on Saturday morning.
It was a kid's show on Saturday morning. I remember that. I was a kid.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's so funny.
Wow.
Wow, you guys. Wow, thank you for that
Yeah.
rendition.
Well, let me play a song, Tom, that this really goes, kind of goes along with that whole thing. It's just about, I mean, you know, it's just, let me take my headphones off, but just, you know, about Dave passing, and, you know, folks that we know, and you know, life just goes by, and this is just a song about life and life and love. It's called "It Goes By Fast," because it sure does. Right, Alice? My God, you just
So
turned
they
30,
tell me.
huh?
I know.
Your 20s are gone.
I know. They're gone.
They just flew by, right?
Well, it didn't seem that way when they were happening, but
quite.
now it sure seems that
Well,
way.
the older you get, the faster it goes. Anyway, it goes by fast. When I was a boy walking down by the tracks, what in the world did I know? I knew the world wasn't flat, and I was faster than Jack, and I knew that I'd never grow old. Time is a game of hide and seek. It will catch you when it can. Now I'm walking along those tracks, trying to understand. And it goes by fast. It's true that nothing lasts. You know time must pass, but it goes by fast. I was 17 when I fell in love. What in the world did I know? Hypnotized, those beautiful eyes, lost in a world of my own. Love is a game of hide and seek. It will blind you 'cause it can. But I find my way and I live each day trying to understand. And it goes by fast. It's true that nothing lasts. You know time must pass, but it goes by fast. Time and life and love and all of their mysteries. Nothing I have learned is what it seems to be. So here I am, I'm a full-grown man, and what in the world do I know? I've found through the years of laughter and tears, you don't have to do what you're told. Life is a game, you take your chance, and you play the best you can. So I find my way, and I live each day, trying to understand. And it goes by fast. It's true that nothing lasts. You know time must pass, but it goes by fast. Everybody sing it. Yes, it goes by fast. It's true that nothing lasts. You know time must pass, but it goes by fast. It goes by fast. It goes so fast. So there you go.
Nice to hear that one.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I've heard it
played
in a
that one
while. Thanks, Tom. Hey, I just want to welcome everybody who's watching again and say that if you are watching on Facebook, we'd love if you would share the stream. That helps more people find it. And if you're watching on YouTube, great. Happy to have you all here. And I just want to say again, those of you who are regular watchers of Inside Live know this, but it is free to watch the show, but we very much appreciate your donations. If you are able to make a contribution to tonight's show, we very much appreciate that. And I want to say officially something that Freebo and I are really excited about and that we shared with Tom yesterday. We've decided to choose a charity every month or an organization that we would like to donate a portion of the proceeds from Inside Live to. And so in honor of Black History Month, we've decided to donate a portion of tonight's donations to an organization called the Movement for Black Lives. And you can find them at their website is m4bl.org. They're just a really amazing kind of network. They actually distribute funds to a lot of local, smaller organizations that are all in support of a wide variety of initiatives, including prison reform, various
Voting
important
rights.
initiative, voting rights. So they're called the Movement for Black Lives, and we're just really excited to choose a charity or an organization every month, a nonprofit. So
This being Black History Month, right?
yeah, we thought it would be a good way to start this new feature of our show. So
Yeah,
give
exactly.
back, and so just remember,
Good decision.
you guys can send donations for the show to a number of places. We've got Venmo, PayPal. You can enter a credit card on my website if you go to alicehowe.com/support. You can also mail us a paper check. There's a P.O. box. So however you prefer to do it, and we will be donating a portion to the Movement for Black Lives. So
And we'll be donating a portion to Tom Paxton as well. Just so you know, Tom.
Hey!
We're not going to leave you in the
Wow.
cold. So
yes.
That's better than a sharp stick in the nose, isn't it?
a lot better. A lot
Thank
better.
you.
I hope you enjoyed that song, Tom. I figured, you could
I love
relate to
that
it.
song.
Thank you.
And right along with the Black History Month, I'd like to sing a song about a wonderful artist who made most of his recordings back in the 1920s. And then when the Depression came along, wiped all those little companies out. And, most of the artists were never heard from again. But Mississippi John Hurt's music,
Oh,
Oh yeah.
it was carried in quite a few collections. His name never really went out of currency. And in 1963, a young folk song collector got a hunch and went down to John's hometown of come on, brain, Mississippi.
Is it?
And
Tupelo?
there was John. No, it'll come to me in a minute.
I'm trying to think of it too.
Avalon,
Avalon,
Mississippi.
there, yeah.
Avalon,
Oh,
Mississippi
I'm
is
thinking of his song that's like Avalon, my hometown, always on my mind.
yeah. Which kind of begs the question: why didn't someone think to go look there earlier? But Avalon is about the size of the room you're sitting in. And John later admitted that he was terrified when he saw this collector coming up to the front door. He thought it was the FBI coming after him or something. But, they brought him up to the Newport Folk Festival in 1963, where I was there for the first time and privileged to see him sing in the North for the first time. He sang in a workshop in the afternoon. And that night they put him on the main stage in front of 18,000 people. And there was this little old guy. He was only about 5'6", something like that. He sat on a kitchen chair and played the songs he'd always played, and absolutely blew the place down. They just loved him. And then
I wonder how he felt himself.
Huh?
I just wonder how he felt being in that situation.
Well, it must have been stunning to him. I mean,
Yeah.
there were 18,000 people cheering for him. I somehow don't think he'd played before that big a crowd before.
Probably not.
But then, by some miracle of the gods, he came and joined us kids at the Gaslight on McDougal Street about a couple weeks later, and he stayed for a couple weeks. We heard him 3 or 4 times a night, and when you're young, you soak that stuff in by osmosis. You know, he really influenced me. He had this wonderful right hand, a very syncopated. He was more of a ragtime player than a blues player, in my opinion. But we just loved him. My wife and I, newly married, we had him over for dinner with his handler Dick Waterman, and about 10 years after John passed, a song more or less in his style showed up in the back of my head, and it turned out to be about him, called "Did You Hear John Hurt?" And Dave Van Ronk used to sing this beautifully. Let me sing it for you. It was a frosty night. It was beginning to snow. And down the city street, the wind began to blow. We all came to the cellar. We all emptied the bar to hear a little old feller play a shiny guitar. Did you hear John Hurt play the Creole bell? The Spanish fandango that he loves so well. Did you love John Hurt? And did you shake his hand? Did you hear him singing his Candyman? Oh, did you hear him singing his Candyman? On a straight back chair with his felt hat on, he tickled our fancy with his Avalon. And everybody passing down McDougal Street would cock their heads and listen to the tapping feet. Did you hear John Hurt play the Creole bell? Spanish fandango that he loves so well. Did you love John Hurt? And did you shake his hand? Did you hear him singing his Candyman? Oh, did you hear him singing his Candyman? My Creole belle, I love her well. My darling baby, my Creole belle, would start to shine, then she'll be mine. My darling baby, my Creole belle. It was a frosty night. It was beginning to snow. And down the city street, the wind began to blow. We all came to the cellar. We all emptied the bar to hear a little old feller play a shiny gilt guitar. I did you hear John Hurt play the Creole bell? Spanish fandango that he loves so well. Did you love John Hurt? Did you shake his hand? Did you hear him singing his Candyman? Oh, did you hear him singing his Candyman?
That's great, Tom.
I love that.
That's classic.
A funny postscript to that was I have a secret passion, and it's for a 19th century parlor music. You know, Listen to the Mockingbird and that kind of stuff, Civil War era popular songs. And I was listening to this cassette that pretended to be like an evening on a Mississippi riverboat. And, you know, it wasn't banjos plunking and all that stuff. It was a song recital. And about the fifth track in, piano played a little introduction, and this tenor came on. I said, "My Creole belle, I love her." And I thought, what? I thought John wrote that song, but he must have heard it on the radio or something and just adopted it and adapted it. And what a that was such a surprising moment.
I just, all the lessons that I took on guitar starting at age 12 or 13, a lot of it centered around learning his style of playing because it was so useful for the right hand. And it's kind of that folk blues thing that I just always so drawn to. And it really, it formed my sense of how to finger pick. And I know for a lot of folk artists.
He had a wonderful right hand.
He's influenced many generations. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
And what you just did, Tom, to me was like a perfect cross between him and you.
Yeah.
And between your style of playing, your style of singing. I mean, it was classic Tom Paxton, but also classic Mississippi John Hurt.
Yeah.
And also,
I don't.
Well,
I don't know if it's still available, but I have a CD of John Hurt, the 1929 recordings on OK Records.
Wow.
And man, it's so wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to say, Tom, that when you said Avalon, Mississippi, and I was thinking Dick Waterman, who was a friend of mine, obviously he managed Bonnie for so many years.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he named his production company Avalon Productions. So it's no surprise. And I know he helped, if not discover, he helped bring a lot of those blues guys, certainly Mississippi Fred McDowell.
Definitely did.
Very good friend of Bonnie's and a wonderful guy.
Well, John played with us at the Gaslight, but I remember the night when Son House came in and did a guest set of 5 or 6 songs. And I mean, he was legendary too.
Right.
But that was the thing about the Village in those days, the Gaslight particularly. The people who dropped in and sang. I mean, Johnny Cash used to come in whenever he was in New York. He'd come in and sing a few songs. And Joan Baez regularly came in. And Dylan would sing in there late at night. I mean, he never worked at the Gaslight, but he was always there. And I remember that we had a room upstairs in the Gaslight where we left our guitar cases and everything, and we had a table and chairs, and we had a kind of a permanent penty-ante poker game going. And I came in early one night, and Dylan was in there pulling a paper out of the portable typewriter that Wavy Gravy had left for everyone to use. And I said, "What you doing?" And he said, "I just finished writing this. What do you think of it?" And he gave it to me. It was about 4 or 5 pages. And I read it and I said, "I mean, this is great. This is like Lord Randall in 1962. It's fantastic. What are you going to do with it?" And he said, "Well, I don't know. What do you think?" I said, "Well, if you could send this to some literary quarterly and they'd give you $25 or something, but why don't you put a tune to it and get something out of it that way?" He says, "You think?" I said, "Yeah, go ahead, do that." And like 2 nights later, he would usually get up late at night, have drink having been taken, as they say in Ireland. and so he got up and he sang this song for the first time. It was called "A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall."
Oh my God.
And
that was gonna be
now
my guess.
when I hear it
thinking
now,
that song.
when it gets into about the 6th minute, I think to myself, what was I thinking? I mean, wow. But about 3 years ago, I took part in a concert on his birthday. They had these parties every 5 years all around the world. So I took part in one of them here, and I sang "One Too Many Mornings" and "Tomorrow's a Long Time," and this I sang, and I did not try to memorize that sucker. I had about three music stands in front of me and about 6 pages of lyrics and everything. But you know what? That song is fun to sing.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that. And I got into it. I think I did a good job with it. But it is a long song.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
But he wrote the length of song that the song needed.
Yeah. And it's amazing that he's got
always
all
been
those
one of my
words in his
favorite
head.
songwriters.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in decades now, but I have nothing but good memories of him.
I've been loving his newest album also. Have you listened to it at all?
I haven't heard it. What's it called?
It's called Rough and Rowdy Ways. And I just love
Rough and Rowdy Ways.
It's excellent.
He's got that.
He's
got
just
the old New Dylan voice.
I love that song of his. It's a commercial these days. You know, wasn't me, babe?
Yeah.
Have you seen that commercial? It wasn't me, babe.
Yeah.
It was some other guy, but it wasn't me. Good.
Oh, wow. It's so great to hear all your stories, Tom. I know that our audience is enjoying it very much. Mind if I play a song that I learned just earlier today?
Please.
Okay. All right.
They'll get those lyrics up just in case.
I got them here. All right. So the record that I heard this on growing up, and my mom was just a huge Joan Baez fan and Dave Van Ronk, and we had all the records, all the vinyl that my mom would listen to and she put on, and one was it had Joan Baez and 2 other young men on the cover who I don't remember who they were, but it was in the round in Harvard Square, so it was recorded at Club 47, Club Passim. I'm sure Tom has seen the album, but it had this song on it, and it's called Careless Love. Love, oh, careless love. Love, oh, careless love. Love, oh, careless love. See what careless love has done. Well, it's sorrow, sorrow to my heart. Sorrow, sorrow to my heart. Sorrow, sorrow to my heart. Since me and my love had to part, I cried last night and the night before. I cried last night and the night before. I cried last night and the night before. Gonna cry tonight and cry no more. When I wore my apron low, when I wore my apron low, oh, when I wore my apron low, you'd follow me through rain and snow. Now my apron strings won't pin. Now my apron strings won't pin. Now my apron strings won't pin. You pass my door and you won't come in. How I wish that train would come. How I wish that train would come. How I wish that train would come and take me See what careless love has done.
Oh, sweet.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh, that felt good.
That's a gorgeous old
Sounded
song.
good.
That was very beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Brandon. Thanks, Tom. I just, that's what I first learned to sing, with songs like that when I was just learning how to play guitar. And every time I come back to those folk songs, I just feel very at home. There's something really
What
calming
I have
about them.
found? I have found that those songs stick with you forever.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the songs when I was a teenager. I mean, I listened to the same songs everybody else listened to, and they don't really stick with you. But
Right.
songs that I learned at that same time, like The Fox Went Out on a Chilly Night, and
Oh, yeah.
Blue-Tailed Fly, and On Top of Old Smoky. I still
Yeah.
love those songs,
Yeah, me too. And
Streets of Laredo.
Yep, I used to sing that to my grandmother was from Kansas, and she loved cowboy songs. I used to sing that one for her. But I was thinking with that song in particular too, Careless Love. I remember learning like this important life lesson by asking my mom, what does it mean that she's talking about her apron strings? And and my mom being like, well, like having the birds and the bees discussion just because of that line. And it's just so interesting. I feel like folk songs have that kind of teaching, just really formative. I have those memories. They're so vivid for me.
Yeah, there's a verse, now my apron strings won't pin. You pass my door and you won't come in. That's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But they're all pretty simple songs, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of interesting, 3-chord, 4-chord songs, nice little melodies, simple lyrics, but like you say, sometimes deeper than they first appear.
Yeah. Well, Tom,
When I'm teaching,
Go ahead.
when I'm teaching at Swannanoa in North Carolina, one of the things I like to do with my classes is have them write new verses for traditional songs, like Careless Love. And it's only 2 lines that you write for that. You repeat the line 3 times and sing it. But that's the way those songs survived anyhow, is people hearing them and making up their own verses to go with them. And sometimes those verses would catch on and other people would add them when they sang the song. That's the beautiful thing about the folk tradition, is the way the songs are passed down orally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
true.
Nowadays we write everything down, put it all on tape and everything like that. But in the old days, they didn't have any media, and you either learned a song by heart or you didn't learn it.
I was going to say, a couple people asked if about Rory Block and back in the day, and a lot of people on here are familiar with Rory, partly from her history, also because we one of the versions of this show we did way back was with Rory. A great show for those of you who want to check out the archives. By the way, all of our Inside live shows are archived on Norman's Rare Guitars YouTube channel, and your YouTube channel, right?
Yep, and you can look up Alice Howe Music on Facebook or Freebo fan page. They're all, if you missed an episode, you can go back and see them, and this show will be archived too, so you can watch it later.
But yeah, did you know Rory back in the day? She was just a spring chicken back then, right?
I did. And her dad made the best sandals in Greenwich Village.
Oh, that's right.
And,
he was a shoemaker. That's
You'd go in his sandal shop and he would be playing the Harry Fox collection of folkways, the old stuff. And so that was all over the village, appreciation for traditional folk music. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until my generation came along, we all started writing songs that began to change.
Well, I want to ask you a question about that. Just how does it feel for you to have written what are now considered folk standards, such as The Last Thing on My Mind and, you know, I Can't Help But Wonder
You know-
Where I'm Bound and Ramblin' Boy. And I mean, these are classics. I'm just wondering what that feels like for you.
Well, a lot of times people tell me they see recordings of them on folk records and credited to traditional.
Yeah.
And I say, well, you know, probably isn't going to earn a lot of royalties anyhow, but I wouldn't mind having them. But I remember when I was starting out, one of the things I wished for most was that I would hear somebody singing my song on the street, and that's happened to me now many times. I got out of a taxi in the village, and two girls came by on bicycles singing "I Can't Help But Wonder Where I'm Bound," and I almost ran after them and tried to catch them, but I didn't. But it's a wonderful feeling. It makes me feel like I was on the right path.
You apparently were, and you're still on it. I mean, that's what's so wonderful. I mean, I respect you so much. I mean, you're in your 80s and you're still vibrant and you still care.
And you're an inspiration to young artists too. And you've connected with so many other artists, like on our Fleming artists roster, and you've helped bring me into the roster. And like you said, where we met at that Folk Alliance panel, I'll never forget how you, as you were leaving the room, you just stopped me and you whispered in my ear, "Yeah, like, you've got a good one." And I was like, "Oh my God."
What did I say?
You said you've got a good song, because you had enjoyed my song that day at the panel, and you just whispered, "You've got a good one there." And I just, you know, I was really just thrilled, and you've just been so supportive of me, and I appreciate that so much. It really, to have that connection to your generation from my perspective.
Well, I know you're going to pass that on.
I will.
You're going to pass it on.
I look forward to the opportunity.
Right now, you spoke about some of the young artists. I mean, the Accidentals, two young women on the Fleming roster, I think are just so talented.
Yeah.
And we're writing songs together on Zoom once a week.
I think that's so great. That's so great.
It's fun for me, you know. They're 25 years old with a whole different perspective, and for us to get together, you know, it's really keeps me excited.
That's wonderful.
Well, hey, we're writing a song together too, Tom. You know, it's coming along rather
We are
slowly,
indeed,
but it's coming along.
We had a date yesterday.
We're about three-quarters of the way there, aren't we?
So,
we had some breakthroughs
verse,
yesterday afternoon. I think we made a lot of progress.
Yeah.
But I have a request, Tom. I would love it if you would play one of those old chestnuts we're talking about, of yours.
One of the chestnuts, okay.
One of those traditionals.
Yeah. maybe your favorite of the old chestnuts.
He was a man, a friend always, stuck with me in the hard old days. Never cared if we had no dough. Rambled around in the rain and snow. And here's to you, my rambling boy. May all your rambling bring you joy. Here's to you, my rambling boy. May all your rambling bring you joy. In Tulsa town, we chanced to stray. Thought we'd try to walk one day. Boss said he had room for one. Says my old pal, we'd rather bum. And here's to you, my rambling boy. May all your rambling bring you joy. Here's to you, my rambling boy. May all your rambling bring you joy. Late one night in a hobo camp, the weather it was cold and damp. He got the chills and he got 'em back. They took the only friend I had. And here's to you, my rambling boy. May all your rambling bring you joy. Here's to you, my rambling boy. May all your rambling bring you joy. He left me here to ramble on. My rambling pal is dead and gone. If when we die, we go somewhere, I bet you $1 he's rambling there. And here's to you, my rambling boy. May all your rambling bring you joy. Here's to you, my rambling boy. May all your rambling bring you joy.
Oh, fantastic. Wow.
I love that song, Tom.
Great song.
And I want to tell you, when I was living in Seattle, Washington, and I was working at a guitar store called Dusty Strings, I was close friends with Kate Power and Steve Einhorn. And
great people.
They are, and they used to lead a weekly sing-along at the shop. And then when they moved back to Portland, Oregon, they passed it on to me, and I took over leading the weekly sing-along. And that song was like one of the hits of the sing-along. We did it all the time. So.
Well, I'll tell you a little story that at the Gaslight in '63, I took to carrying around a little pocket notebook with me. Mm. And one night I wrote 3 lyrics between the sets. Mm. And the first and third were among the worst I've ever written. But the middle one was Ramblin' Boy. Mm. And that notebook is in the Woody Guthrie Center in Tulsa now. Then they have all my manuscripts. They have 60 years worth of notebooks. And
wow.
They also have all of Phil Oakes's. So,
wow.
Not to mention, of course, Woody's.
Mm-hmm.
Good company.
If you get anywhere near Tulsa, go to the Woody Guthrie Center. It's just so good.
Definitely have to check that out
someday.
Hey, I should tell you, Tom, that our friend Jack Williams, a wonderful singer-songwriter, he's watching. He said he was playing along with you. Obviously, you couldn't hear him, but he was playing along. We had Jack on our show. He's maybe like our 6th or 7th show.
Yeah.
But Jack is wonderful, a great friend and fabulous songwriter and guitar player. I'm sure you guys.
What a player he is,
my God. Isn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hi, Jack. Just want to give you a shout out, and I'm sure it sounded great. We couldn't hear it, but just want to let you know that, Tom.
Yeah. My lady Peggy and I went and surprised Jack at a concert he was doing south of Seattle last September. No, a year ago September. And you should have seen his face when we came in the door. Certainly didn't expect to see us there, but he did his usual crack-up show.
Oh, he's incredible.
He's amazing.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
It's nice to have talented friends like you people, Jack and Rory, and I feel very fortunate. Thanks for spending this time with us tonight, Tom.
Oh,
Freebo, you're holding your guitar.
I am holding my guitar, and I'll tell you what, I'd like to do a song that I was watching the Well, it's not a circus. Really amazing thing with at the Senate, the trial at the Senate, and I just had all sorts of emotions. And I thought maybe I should play something from that. But this show is so wonderful and sweet, and has nothing to do with anything that's going on. I think for the time being, I think I'll stay away from that, and I'll play a song of mine that's way more than a 3-chord song, but I love this song, and it just speaks to to people, to the fact that we're all in this together, and how do we focus on shades of gray. And the song is called "To the Light." Love to share it with you.
It's been a while.
It has been a while since I played this one, but not exactly your simple 3-chord song, but
And if I could just mention one thing before you start.
sure.
I just want to remind folks that we are giving a portion of tonight's donations for the show to a wonderful organization called the Movement for Black Lives, and that's our new plan for Inside Live, is to choose an organization or a charity every month. So for Black History Month, it is this very important organization that actually helps distribute to many other smaller local organizations that are just fighting for a number of really important different initiatives, and you can look them up at Movement for Black Lives. That's going to be in the chat, and so just know that you can send a donation for the show to Venmo, PayPal. You can go to my website and do a credit card. You can send us a check. So I just want to make sure you guys know that that's what we're doing tonight, and it is free to watch the show, but we do appreciate your donations.
Do you want to tell them about the Zoom afterwards?
I want to tell them about 2 more things.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 1, as soon as the show is officially, this portion of the show is over in about half an hour, we're going to take a 5-minute intermission, and then, as many of you know, because you've joined us already, we're doing an after party on Zoom. So don't go anywhere if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, but if you would like to join us backstage, there will be the information to join the Zoom meeting will be in the chat. Brandon's going to put it in the chat. So you have a couple choices. You can just keep watching the show on Facebook or YouTube, exactly the same. It's not going to change. Or you can jump over to Zoom and join us backstage and actually get a chance to say hi and see us and ask Tom a question, ask us a question, and we might go around and do another song. So the Zoom after party starts about 5 minutes after the show ends. So the info for the Zoom will be in the chat. And then the last thing I want to mention, while you are playing your song, we will do our Cordial cable giveaway, which, would you like to tell them about Cordial Cables, our wonderful sponsor for Inside Live?
All the cables that we're using are Cordial cables, the mic cables, the guitar cables, and these cables are really special. They're made out of just about 100% copper. Cordial's an American company, and they source it out of a company in Germany. And the cables are amazing because they have essentially no resistance, which means the sound is clean as possible. They're very expensive. They're really good. It's worth the money if and when you buy one, because it's the only cable you will ever need. It's got a lifetime guarantee. And we want to thank Mike from Cordial, who's they're sponsoring. They're really helping sponsoring the show. We appreciate it, but it's a product that, we wouldn't talk about if we didn't use it, if we didn't like it, right?
Yep. We love them, and we love Cordial. They're great people. They've been really supportive. So what we're doing today is actually giving away a cable and a t-shirt, and we picked a number between 1 and 100. And if you guys would just put your guesses for that number in the chat, and you do have to be in the United States of America to receive this prize. You cannot be in a foreign country. I'm sorry. Thank you for those of you who are watching from Australia and the UK. We can't at this time ship so far away, but we still love you.
And Vincent is not allowed.
And Vincent's not allowed because he seems to have some kind of like telepathic thing going on. It's scary. So
Vincent, just hold your number, keep it to yourself.
So everybody just put your guesses for that giveaway in the chat, and Brandon will keep an eye on it. He knows the secret number, and we will announce the winner at the end of this song.
Yep.
Whew.
So this song is called To the Light. I've heard it said The earth looks peaceful when it's seen from outer space. Such a pretty place for you and me. How do we hear the wisdom of the crickets in the night, singing out of sight from way down here, way down here, where there's only right or wrong. Why can't we just try to get along? I've heard it said, there's 100 billion galaxies of light lighting up the night for you and me. We could be just as peaceful as the earth from outer space, living in a place of harmony. Harmony, oh, such a lovely sound. Why do we put one another down? Just consider that there is no wrong or right, and consider that there is no black or white. There are always shades of gray to help us find our way to the light.
To the light.
To the light. I've heard it said, every culture has a history in stone, dances of their own they like to do. Wouldn't you like to be accepted just the way you are? Is that really hard to see? Couldn't we find a way to understand and blow away that line in the sand? Just consider that there is no wrong or right, and consider that there is no black or white. There are always shades of gray to help us find our way to the light.
To the light.
To the light. Dee dee dee.
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 There are always shades of gray to help us find our way to the light.
To the light.
To the light. To the light.
To the light.
To the light. I've heard it said, the earth looks peaceful when it's seen from outer space. Such a pretty place for you and me. For you and me.
For you and me.
For you and me.
For you and me.
For you and me. For you and me.
What a beautiful song.
Oh, Tom says, what a
Who
beautiful
wrote that?
song. That was a Freebo
Who wrote?
original. This guy.
That's just gorgeous. Nice going.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Appreciate
It's a
that.
great song.
Thank you. Not a 3-chord song, but they can't all be.
I don't
that.
know how many chords are going by.
Got
in
a
that
lot
one.
of chords. I've got a couple 2-chord songs that I like. Hey, you as you well know, you write it from your heart, and the song goes where it goes, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
What now?
maybe we should have some more music. Tom, would you like to play us another song?
Sure. For the last about 4 years, I reckon, I've been teamed up with two gentlemen from Nashville, John Vesner and Don Henry,
Yeah.
both of them Grammy-winning songwriters, and we met at Swananoa.
Great
And
songwriter. And funny guys.
they proposed. They call themselves the Don Juans, and they thought about opening shows for me and then being my band. And so we tried that, and we were about 3 songs into our first set, and I thought to myself, these are not sidemen. This is a trio. And I've thought that way ever since. So we have a trio now called Tom Paxton and the Don Juans. I wanted to call it the Paxtones, but they. I've always had a secret love for that name, you know, Tom and the Paxtones. But we've been touring together until, well, it's almost a year now since our last date was March the 10th in Oklahoma City. And I start to get punchy after a while if I can't get on the stage and perform. But
I know it.
John and I, we've written a bunch of songs, the 3 of us. And this happens to be one that John and I wrote together, called Here Today and Gone Tomorrow. Rolling down the interstate, straight as any ruler, car filled up with music from my hungry early years. All my loving friends who sang their way to glory, and those who came before me, my band of restless runaways, they live in every song I play. Here today and gone tomorrow, wild geese riding on the wind, shadows fading into shadows, just a trace of where we've been, ever living in my memory, ever playing on my mind. Here today and gone tomorrow, leaving all their love behind. Sitting here beside me are the ghosts of Greenwich Village, Seeger's singing tenor, Lee Hayes' grumbling bass, the rebel voice of Woody Guthrie in my ear, transports me through the years to another time and place when a new song was our saving grace. Here today and gone tomorrow, wild geese riding on the wind, shadows fading into shadows, just a trace of where we've been, ever living in my memory, ever playing on my mind. Here today and gone tomorrow, leaving all their love behind. Oh, these times we're living in spell trouble for us all, when those we're told to trust just can't be trusted. This is when I find myself driven to recall, and I'm right back there with all my friends, picking up my old guitar again. Here today and gone tomorrow, wild geese riding on the wind, shadows fading into shadows, just a trace of where we've been, ever living in my memory, ever playing on my mind. Here today and gone tomorrow, leaving all their love behind. Here today and gone tomorrow, leaving all their love behind.
Yeah. Great.
I love that chorus. It's beautiful. I think I've heard you play that before. I love that song.
Thank you.
And you know that the jokester version of that would be somebody who's taken vacation to Hawaii, would be here today and gone to Maui.
Oh, that's like that awful joke I told you.
Oh, would
I'll
you
tell
tell
everybody.
that again?
Tell
Would
it,
you
please.
please?
Yes. You know Robin and Linda Williams. You've heard them on for years on Perennial Companion. Robin Williams knows more awful jokes, and according to him, he's broken up with Lorraine, not seeing her anymore. It's all history, and he's seeing Claire now. Claire is a member of the Lee family of the Virginia Lees, and according to him, I can see Claire Lee now. Lorraine is gone. Oh,
It just hurts. It hurts.
I love jokes like that.
I know. At least they're easy to remember. I'm always messing up jokes when I try to tell one. Those are safe though, because you can't mess them up.
Why don't you play another song, Alice?
We're just gonna keep rolling through.
Well,
the music?
yeah,
Okay.
this has been a very musical show
It
with some
has.
very
I'm loving it.
insightful, interesting conversation.
It has.
Yeah.
I agree. Let's see. What should I play, Freebo? I don't know. I wasn't ready for that. Let's see.
I suppose you could play the song that Tom first heard you do that excited him.
I think I did it last week, but maybe I will do it for you. Tom, maybe I'll play the song that you heard that very day at Folk Alliance.
Great.
That's going to be on my next record, which Freebo is producing, and we were recording a year ago, September 2019 in Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
Look at her shirt. Have you seen
Oh
her
yeah,
shirt?
wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
I got my Fame Studios shirt
do.
on.
Yeah.
Hit recording capital of the world. And we had a great band, and I just can't wait to get back. We haven't been able to go back yet, but I'm fixing to
Well,
go back.
don't go until we finish that song we're writing.
Okay, deal. And this is one that we did record that in those first sessions. And Freebo's old friend Mark Jordan, a beautiful keyboard player from your original band that you were
Electric, yeah.
in, he just played this part that, it just
Beautiful.
absolutely killed me. Mark is so talented. So I can't wait for you to hear that version.
And Tom, this is one of those songs where Alice allowed me to put a bridge into it. Every once in a while, she likes it, but it really needs a little lift. Oh no, I really like it. I
Freebo's
said
my
I like it
bridge.
too, but
He's my bridge man.
it's just no.
I call him in for for the bridge.
Okay, let me take my.
I always find it difficult to write a bridge. I don't know why.
Just got to go somewhere else.
I
right?
know. I'm not good at going somewhere else. I'm good at just doing the same thing
You're very good at
again
that.
and again. All right, I got to get into double drop D, which I am now. This was a brand new song when I played it at Folk Alliance.
Yeah.
Barely finished. I think I remember writing the bridge with you in the hotel room.
I think so. Yeah.
Before we went down.
Yeah. It was very, very new.
And I was so nervous, and it's just a testament to an event like Folk Alliance that it was in the morning, and I'd probably been up until 4, and it
Finishing
was
the song.
like 9 o'clock, and Freebo is a bridge
Bridge
builder.
builder.
He builds bridges, not walls. Yeah, and I dragged myself to that songwriting panel and thinking, what's the point? Kind of having that attitude, and then.
And Rich Warren squeezed you in.
And Rich Warren, I made like meaningful eye contact with our friend Rich Warren, who's a DJ at gosh, I can't remember the name of the station right now.
In Chicago.
In
Did the midnight special for many years. Wonderful show.
Yep, and
MFT,
FMT.
Yeah.
That's right. And he made eye contact with me, and I knew, okay, I'm gonna get in. I know I'm gonna get in at the end, and he squeezed me in, and here I am today, friends with this legendary person and wonderful songwriter Tom Paxton. So I think it turned out okay. Day after Christmas, I'm headed down south on a plane. All alone in my seat, and I'm watching the cold morning rain. Hazel said, come to the island to settle your heart. She said, peace will not come in a day, but you may as well start. After all, there's one thing I know, that you got to be strong to let go, let go. Living in fear, I was out of my mind. 'Cause I'd gather up my resolution and lose it each time. And night after night he is asking me, what can I say? Yeah, it kills me, it's breaking my heart, but there's no other way. After all, there's one thing I know, that you got to be strong to let go, let go. Don't be afraid, it's never too late, and I got to be brave. Will come, though for now there are none. I told her I couldn't believe it was time to move on. She told me, with all due respect, you are already gone. So we walked on the beach and we sent out a prayer to be free. To the palms and the waves and the foam and the sand and the sea. After all, there's one thing I know, that you got to be strong to let go, let go.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you. You know, do you feel, Tom, that when you sing a song that is about something personal and emotional, do you feel like it's very cathartic for you? Do you kind of re-experience it and in a new way? Or
Yeah. I'm, I like what somebody said about it. I really think this answers your question. Someone said that we do what we do, whether it's acting or writing songs or whatever. We do what we do because it keeps us sane. And without it, we'd be lost.
I agree. I really do agree. I mean, when did you write your first song, Tom? How old were you?
I wrote my first song in the back row of a Shakespeare class at the University of Oklahoma. And I'm ashamed of myself. I mean, I love Shakespeare. I don't know why I was called upon to write. And I wrote what has to be one of the 3 or 4 worst songs in the English language. I mean, it was phony as a $3 bill. It was an Elizabethan murder ballad. You know, we needed more of them, didn't we?
Really speaking from what you know.
It served a purpose. I thought to myself, I've written a song. Oh, you know, I can write another one. And I sang it, you know, in a spectacular burst of bad judgment. I sang it for my friends. And they said, God, well, that's great. You know, the Kingston Trio should do that song. And no, they shouldn't. But I love the way when we're starting out, there is this protective cloud that we carry around us that keeps us from realizing that we really suck, that what we're doing is awful. And it gives us a chance to keep going until we, you know, with luck, we start to get better and maybe even good. But that early, it's like birds in a nest, you know, like don't step out of the nest, you're going to fall and die. But I also learned that, you know, you don't trust your friends or family to judge your stuff, because I mean, they'll lie to you because they love you.
Yeah.
They'll either lie to you or it's so true. It took me, I'm just really relating to what you're saying. I mean, I wrote my first songs in the back of algebra class. I didn't write in Shakespeare class. I did that during math and chemistry and physics, I hate to admit. But I couldn't agree more. I feel like I was propelled along by I was running on the fumes of my friends and family for years. And I needed that. It was like that foundational confidence. And then it was like, you start to kind of watch yourself a little bit more and hear what you're actually saying and doing. And then you start to tweak it. And it's like, oh, and now I listen to some of that early stuff and it's like, wow, you really think it's the best you've ever done when you're doing it. I mean, what else do you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I finally got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think,
I like to tell people that I started out wanting to be an actor.
Oh.
But I compromised and settled for the security of folk music.
How's that working out for you, Tom?
Oh, it's worked out great. I'm still making a living, you know. You can't be a star in this stuff, but you can make a living.
Yeah.
You know, Tom, I was going to say, just to dovetail onto the part what you said about and Alice's question, that if we don't do what we do, we'd go crazy. You know, and I think the genesis of that is that I think there's something in us, those of us who wind up choosing to do this, that it finds us, we have to do it. And maybe it's, if we did something else, I know for me, you know, you'd go crazy. And it's the only, because I think it's who we are. We're born to do this. And so it's coming back to our true selves. And obviously, if there's anything that's going to keep you sane in life, it's being who you really are. So I think that's really true with the 3 of us. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If not for this, I'd be knocking over 7-Elevens or something until they caught me, which wouldn't take long because I'm not any good at that. So this is the only legal thing that I can do.
We won't talk about the illegal thing.
I love
Huh?
So, what do you say we wrap it up? Have
let's-
Tom do one more song, announce our winner?
Yeah, so our
winner.
cable winner is Storm, our friend Storm,
All right, Storm.
who is actually, he's right, I see him right there. I've seen him in the chat, and he's already in the Zoom, so that's great. Storm, you won the cable for today. Congratulations. And I was actually thinking we could save Tom's next song for the Zoom after party.
Should we
Because
do that?
it's been 90
Sure.
minutes.
Oh, okay.
So why
That's
don't
a
we
good
all
idea.
take a 5-minute break, and we'll see you guys all back here. And don't go anywhere if you want to keep watching on Facebook or YouTube. But if you want to join us in Zoom and maybe ask Tom a question, I also have a list of questions from throughout the show that I'm going to go through and ask Tom. So, Tom, yeah.
And for somebody who somehow cannot see the chat, is there any way that they can find out what the Zoom link is without giving it to the general public? Do you know?
They have to get it from the chat.
Have to get it from the chat.
and
So
we
figure
can't-
out
we
some way to
cannot-
get in the
it's-
chat,
We
folks.
cannot put the link in the chat. We actually have to put the meeting ID and password in the chat, because otherwise we get Zoom bombers and hackers, and we don't want that. So just keep an eye out for that link in the chat. It's coming. Don't worry. Or not a link. It's meeting ID and password.
And I'd like to second what Alice said earlier about the donations. We appreciate it for us to help us keep going in this chosen path of ours that Tom said, you don't do it to get rich, you do it because you have to do it. But we really appreciate to help us keep going, especially during this pandemic, as well as the donation to the cause.
Yep.
So thank you all for doing that. I really, really appreciate that.
And thank you, Tom Paxton. Thank you
Yeah,
so
Tom.
much for sharing this hour and a half with us. We love you, and we'll see you in 5 minutes.
See you on the Zoom.
So go get a drink of water. All right, everybody. See you in a second. Here we go. Every night I have the strangest dream. All these ghosts are talking to me. Lay down in my bed and I can hardly sleep. These homeland blues have got a hold of me. Well, I went over to my cousin's house to see if we couldn't figure it out. He said it's plain to see you got them homeland blues. What hope have I got if what you're saying is true? And I got them homeland blues. Don't you know I got them homeland blues? Said I got them homeland blues. Honey, pull over, I got them homeland blues. The sooner I book my ticket, the sooner I'll come running back to you. I asked my mother, do you know what I mean? And she could hardly look up at me. Eyes to her paper and I knew she had them too. Eyes on her coffee and I knew she had them too. Have you ever missed something that you never even had? You're down so low and you feel so bad. That's when you know you got them homeland blues. That's when you know that you got them homeland blues. And I got them homeland blues. Try to tell you I got them homeland blues. Said I got them homeland blues. Honey, pull over, I got them homeland blues. The sooner I book my ticket, the sooner I'll come running back to you. distracted from the night we had, sat down on the curb, nursing my homeland blues. Down on the curb and I'm nursing my homeland blues. My American soul gets lonely sometimes. I take a walk and it clears my mind, and I hold you tight to shake my homeland blues. I hold on tight just to shake my homeland blues. Then I got them homeland blues. Don't you know I got them homeland blues? Said I got them homeland blues. Try to tell you I got them homeland blues. If home is where I left it, the sooner I'll come running back to you.
Once upon a time, everything was so fine. Cozy, just my baby and me. I was so well fed, I had my breakfast in bed. I was happy as a man can be. Then my buddy called up, had the cutest little pup. I couldn't help but take him in. Ah, little did I know her affection would go to my new little four-legged friend. Now she loves my dog more than me. She loves my dog more than me. I love my dog, she loves my dog, but she loves my dog more than me.
Hi, everybody. Let's see, are we muted? No, we're good. Hi. Hey, so nice to see
Hey,
you
all.
all. Welcome back, and welcome to the after party.
Yeah, Jack and Judy.
Woo! Hi, Jack
Hey.
and Judy. Storm, Carolyn, Gary, Tara, Thomas, Doreen,
Linda,
Dennis,
Tara.
Tom Paxton. Hey, Tom, I thought I would start out with a question there was a few questions from earlier. Somebody was curious what kind of guitar you're playing. Could you just tell them about your guitar?
It's a licorice guitar. I get hungry, it's right here. It's made of carbon fiber, made by Carbon Acoustics.
Uh-huh.
And it's a 3/4 size. So it travels like a dream, goes in the overheads so well. And it's got a good pickup in it. So it goes through the system nicely. My heart is always with my Martin guitars. And but I'm tired of seeing them get beat up. I've had take them back to Martin in splinters practically.
Oh.
And this thing holds up like a charm. I mean, it's like a Ford F-150 or something. And so that it's made by Carbon Acoustics, and I've played it for the last about 3 years or so. Really
Great.
works.
It's so nice to have a travel guitar. I love that. And then another question, someone was asking, did you try out for the Chad Mitchell Trio?
Not only did I try out, but I was in the Chad Mitchell Trio for all of 1 week.
Did they fire you? What happened?
Right.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, right after I got out of the Army, I auditioned, and they said that they were very upfront. They said, well, we're going to rehearse for a week and see how it goes. And unfortunately, it didn't go well. My voice didn't blend with theirs, and I was not experienced enough to adapt and everything. So they had to let me go, but it wasn't all that bad because during that rehearsal week, I sang the only good song I had at the time. I mean, I thought I had more, but I really just had one, and it was called The Marvelous Toy. And they loved the song and ultimately recorded it. It was the only hit they actually had.
Wow.
But I love the guys. We're still friends, all the guys in the, I mean, well, Joe Frazier died about 5 years ago, but Chad and Mike Koblik are great friends still. And the best thing that happened from it all was that their musical director is a man named Milt Oken. And Milt was just starting his own publishing company, and he became my publisher, and I stayed with him for 50 years. 50
Wow.
years
Wow.
with the same publisher.
You're a
many people could
loyalist.
say
Tom.
that?
You've had
Milt,
the same
Milt was
agent for-
producing a lot of records. He produced John Denver and Peter, Paul and Mary. And of course, the Chad Mitchell Trio ultimately recorded a lot of my songs. Yeah, I would write the songs and I would give them to Milt, and he would suggest them to the people he was doing albums with. So right from the beginning, I started making some money from royalties, and it really helped enormously. So that was my history with the Chad Mitchell Trio. We're still friends.
Good. So you didn't stay in the band, but you stayed friends. That's, hey,
Yeah.
I guess that's a good ending. Well, I want to just ask our audience here in Zoom, does anybody have a question for Tom or for one of us? And if so, just, I can see you. You can
Raise
just
your hand.
wave at me and I'll call on you.
I think Gary raised his hand first.
I think he was just adjusting it. Don't all talk at once now.
Really?
How about I call on Jack Williams? I want you to say something, Jack Williams and Judy. Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you doing?
Great.
We're
Good to see you
great.
guys. Are you in
Good to see
Arkansas?
you.
Hey, Jack.
Hey, Tom, it's great to see you.
Hi, Judy.
Nice to see you all.
Oh,
Thanks
you
for
too.
coming tonight.
You too.
What do you want
Are
me
you
to? What do you want to hear from me?
Oh, I'm just using you to.
We thought maybe you guys wanted to say hello to each other
Use
Yeah,
me.
that's
person,
all.
so to
I'm just
speak.
using you, Jack. That's all.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for coming tonight.
Oh,
nice
it's
to
our
see you
pleasure.
both. You were so wonderful on this very show a few months ago. We'd love to have you back sometime.
We would.
if you're willing.
Sure, you got a good
Yeah.
thing going there. I really enjoy what you're doing.
Jack,
Thank you.
Jack owes me a great debt, because he was
Uh-oh.
about to go on. He was about to go on. He was very nervous, and I told him just make the chords with the left hand and the rhythm with the right hand. You'll be fine. and it worked out.
It worked. It worked.
Oh,
Yes.
So glad you told him that.
Jack's a good. Obviously, Jack is a good student. We know that. So
Yeah.
all good students need a good teacher.
And he opens his eyes now. Right. Tell
That
him
was due to
about that,
Tom.
Jack.
I have
Yeah,
to,
I
I have
wanna
to
hear
tell you, Tom is, as Alice has already found out, Tom is noted for taking young upcoming artists under his wing and offering a suggestion. I opened for him at the Iron Horse in Northampton back in 94 or 95.
Oh, love the
And
Iron Horse.
during the break, I mean, back then I was fresh out of rock and roll. I had not yet, I had been playing solo for some years, but in the bar scene, not on the folk scene. I was playing in an area where their folk music didn't exist as far as I was concerned. I thought it died a long time before. But here I was, and trying to find my way in New England. Tom opened for him. And after my set, before he went up, he took me aside and he said, Jack, I really like what you do. He had some real nice things to say. But then the important thing was he said, may I offer you some constructive criticism? Uh-oh. Well, see, at that point, I'd already been a professional player for 30 years. So I kind of bristled like, my ego was stuck up. What's the word? What does he think he's talking about? But then I came to my senses, and this is somebody you admire. And he's got something you want. And what he told me was, I was doing the Miles Davis thing. I'd go on stage and I didn't look anybody in the eye. I didn't look at the audience. I played my songs. I played them well. I sang them. But he said, why don't you let us into your world? You got two layers there in the Iron Horse, and you can look into everybody's eyes. And I made all the typical disclaimers. Oh, I see somebody who's obviously not enjoying it, and it messes me up. I see a pretty girl. I see somebody arguing. I get distracted, blah, blah, blah. And he just said, just take it for what it's worth, Jack. And I will tell you that I walked out of there and I thought, that wasn't just some Tom, Dick, and Harry. That was Tom. and I told myself that I was going to give it a try and started out by looking between people's eyes, not looking right at them. And let's make a long story short, within 2 years, my income quadrupled.
Wow.
And I credit Tom with that because I didn't get any better at playing or singing. I was communicating with the audience, but the important part of it was not just that now my career was a two-way street between me and my audience. It changed my life because now I was looking at people when I talked to them. I was communicating. I realized that I was no longer that distant sort of too cool for words musician.
It's a conversation.
It's a conversation.
Thank
you, Tom.
Yeah, and if I
that.
may, Jack, that's kind of the difference between the world of rock and roll and the world of folk.
Yes.
Rock and roll, you kind of keep that distance,
Right.
and then there's backstage when you meet people. But in folk, it's really about connecting. I learned that in basically 20 years ago when I came into this world, and I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
Well, you can see it in the promo photographs of rock and roll bands
Right.
versus the promo photographs of a folkie.
Right.
And the rock and roll bands is kind of like, I'm cool and I'm bad and I'm angry
That's right.
and and I'm distant. Don't approach me.
Folkies are like, oh, come be
Come,
with me.
yeah.
I had an amazing experience once. I was in England, and a friend of mine was in a rock and roll band, and they were pretty much on the starter level. And I said, I want to come along with you on a gig. I want to see what a gig's like. And so I did, and it was in some suburban place outside of London. They carried everything up 3 flights of stairs into this hall, and there was a green room was like a classroom or something. It was about the size of a classroom, and there were 3 rock and roll bands in there, and they never said a word to one another.
Too cool.
And when we were going back to London, I said, no one ever, what is that? He said, oh, that's the way it is. No one talks. I said, you get in a folk festival and it's Old Home Week.
That's right.
This looks so cold and hostile and everything. It is.
Yeah.
It is. There's no friendship there.
There's no
I
connection.
guess it's at the very top. They're friends with one another
Right.
if they're at the top. But
Yeah. I remember talking to a
I
friend.
didn't like that at all.
No.
It reminds me of when I was just after a show actually at Club Passim a couple years ago, and a friend from high school came, and he stayed till everybody had left, and he watched me talk to every single person and like shake everybody's hand when we could shake people's hands, and look everybody in the eye, and he was just like, wow, you talked to every person. And I was like, of course I did. Like, this is my job. I mean, not only do I enjoy talking to people, but that's to me what the whole role is like, I want someone to feel like I'm somebody that is a kind, generous person with my time, and like that's just part of it to me. It's interesting. There's a couple...
one more story involving Garth Brooks. When he first came on the scene and people became aware of him, they have this thing in Nashville called Fan Week, and people have booths, and they go and they're to meet the fans and everything. Garth Brooks stood out, not in the booth, but out in the field with a pen, and he stood there for 14 hours. 14 hours signing autographs and talking to people. And someone said, why? He says, they made me. They made me. Simple as that. You know, I need them.
Gratitude.
14 hours.
Wow.
You know, I guess he had to go to the bathroom or something, but he stood there until the last person got the autograph, and then he went home. I admire that. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember hearing that Kenny Rogers didn't like to meet his fans, and he really didn't like them. I don't know that this is true, but my late partner, Mickey Newberry, used to hang out with him in North Houston, and I heard pretty much that this was the way he was. He would play a concert. He would come in, go on the stage, play his concert, get right out, and be motored back to a helicopter or to a plane and fly back to his Monroe, Georgia farm, and never liked to talk to people at all. And I always wondered how that worked and how it must feel and what was his relationship with his audience. They were just money to him. I felt very bad about that. And I spent most of my rock and roll years, I never bought into the I'm too cool for words. I want to look angry in my photos. I never bought into that. And I was always shot down by all my buddies who just said, oh man, you got to be cool. You got to be, you need to look unapproachable, like you're somebody special. I said, well, but I like these people. I want to talk to these people.
And now, Jack, you are cool, man. You are cool.
I was just going about it the wrong way.
You guys, we've got a couple folks have put questions in the chat, and I just want to make sure we get to them. For Tom, Doreen has been a huge fan of yours. Doreen, do you want to ask your question directly, or do you want me to ask? I see you.
Doreen on it, let her ask
Here,
it.
just unmute yourself, Doreen. Make sure you hit the unmute button. Do you see it in the bottom left corner? There you go.
Tom, I have been a fan as long as you've been singing. And Whose Garden Is It brings tears to my eyes every time you sing it. What started that? And you made me an environmentalist, and my daughter is an environmentalist, and I'm going to cry now. What made you
cry?
That song brings tears to my eyes because I'm such an environmentalist.
What song?
Whose garden was it?
Whose garden was it?
Oh,
Whose garden was this? That was my all-time.
crying is.
I love that song. What made you write that?
Well, actually, what made me write it was in 1970 they were going to have the first Earth Day, and they had a big thing at Northwestern University in Chicago.
And
they invited me, and on my way there, I thought, I don't have a song, and so I quickly wrote, Whose Garden Was This? And I thought I'd sing it once or twice, and that would be it. And yet it turned out that I still sing it to this day. But go ahead and cry. Go ahead and cry. I mean, it's something to cry about what we're doing to this planet.
And especially in the last, I don't want to get political, but in the last administration, we need the environmentalists. Can you sing it now?
Would you?
You sensed a certain coolness to ecological questions. Yeah, we all did. Sure, I'll sing it for you.
Oh,
Great, beautiful.
Whose garden was this? It must have been lovely. Did it have flowers? I've seen pictures of flowers, and I'd love to have smelled one. Whose river was this? Say it ran freely. Blue was its color. I've seen blue in some pictures, and you tell me you've been there. Ah, tell me again, I need to know. The forest had trees, the meadows were green, the oceans were blue, and birds really flew. Can you swear that was true? Whose gray sky was this? Was it a blue one? Nights there were breezes, I've heard records of breezes, and you tell me you felt one. Whose forest was this? Why is it empty? You say there were bird songs and squirrels in the branches. Then why is it silent? Ah, tell me again, I need to know. The forest had trees, the meadows were green, the oceans were blue, and birds really flew. Can you swear that was true? And whose garden was this? It must have been lovely. Did it have flowers? I've seen pictures of flowers, and I'd love to have smelled one.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That was great. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Thank
Beautiful.
you for that. Thank you.
And
You're an inspiration.
passionately sung, Tom.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks.
That's interesting, you know. But I mean, I wanted to ask another question, but just I've never heard you sing like that. I'm not saying good or bad, but I mean it's just the passion of what you were singing about was
Really
that was
felt it.
fascinating. Yeah.
Mm.
You don't have
Thank
to
you.
respond to that.
I do.
That,
No, you're welcome. I wanted to bring in Alan Messer, who's here, and I noticed earlier Alan had a question for Jack, and I think Jack answered in the chat. But earlier, Alan, when we were doing the stuff about Dave Von Ronk, Alan had mentioned that he had taken some pictures of Dave. You want to come in here, Alan, and speak to that, please?
Yes, I'm going to turn my hello everybody. I'm going to turn my volume up here so I can hear myself talk. Dave Van Ronk was on an anti. My hair looks terrible. What the hell? That's why I
Looks
like
great.
these cameras for
great.
this. I'm old. No, not.
Join the club.
Well, you may be older than me. I'm 172. You beat me.
By a year. Yeah.
But Dave Van Ronk was on Nancy Griffith's album, Other Voices Too, in New York. She had a lot of guests in there, and I greatly enjoyed the moment meeting him, photographing him, and hearing him with his almost grumpy stories. And I loved him too. You know, he was lovely, and Nancy spoke so well of him, and he sang amazingly, and that was just, to me, a part of folk history. Amazing stuff. Tom, I first saw you on the Old Grey Whistle Test many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I posted a picture just now.
That's a BBC show.
BBC Two, and I was the Old Grey Whistle Test photographer, and Tony Visconti, who I think produced your album, right? Did he produce your album?
Yeah, he did 2 albums with me. He also did David Bowie. I think he did
David Bowie.
well
He
from
did.
them.
He was before that Mark Boland, T-Rex, and then he teamed up with David Bowie, and then he teamed up with Tom Paxton, and the rest of it. Yeah.
Cool.
And Ralph McTell.
Ralph McTell. I love Ralph McTell. Yes.
God, great artist.
Do you remember we took those pictures a few years ago of the? I'm going to rename the group now, the Paxtones. I think the Paxtones is the way it should be. And,
That's a great name.
I think you're right.
I mean,
I think if only I had the nerve. I just lack the nerve.
I'm not sure that Don and John are going to agree with that, but
we'd have to get matching suits, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. You have to have that.
You know, yeah, have to
Definitely.
have
and if you
choreographed.
if you become rock stars, you can stop.
I love it.
What were you going to say,
Boy,
Jack?
if anybody was not cut out to be a rock star, you're looking at them.
And my question to Jack was, were you at Wembley Festival with Mickey Newbury?
Oh, no, I was not. That was before my time with Mickey Newbury. Mickey and I teamed up around 1994, 95, and I played with him, played every gig with him till the end of his life, 7 years later.
He played that festival, and I was able to hang out with him a little bit in the dressing room, and beautiful man.
You know, I mentioned earlier that that
You know, you ever hear of the Peter Principle? There was a whole book about that. It's
rising to your level of
rise to our
incompetence.
level of incompetence, and
Yes.
and I skipped that top. That would have been when I turned to rock and roll. You know, that would have been. I can imagine.
But you know what, Tom? Actually, I hear what you say about the rock and rollers. I worked in rock and roll with Rod Stewart and a lot of the Stones and everybody, and a lot, even John Lennon and George Harrison. I think everyone was talking to each other.
They were talking.
They seemed
said-
like they were talking to each other. Yeah, yeah. But
That's
I
funny.
enjoyed it. I had a great time. Yeah. I was
Maybe just to
I was
put it on-
around the Bonnie Raitt band. I think Freebo, you guys were talking, weren't you?
Occasionally,
Bonnie
yeah.
Raitt.
I was going to ask, actually, that's a great segue, because somebody had asked Freebo, were you at the No Nukes concert? And I know that you were, and I just thought maybe you could share a little bit about that, because
Yeah.
Which concert?
It was called the No Nukes. It was at Madison Square Garden. It was
Oh, yeah.
three or four nights. It's called the Muse concert, MUSE, Musicians United for Safe Energy. And it was like Crosby, Stills and Nash and Bruce Springsteen and Jackson and Bonnie and Jesse Colin Young and a whole bunch of people. It was really cool. 1979, I believe. And we did a show at Battery Park, which is where the World Trade Centers were, and they were just finishing the top, I don't know how many floors, but the top several floors of each tower were not quite done yet. There was still a crane up there finishing it off. But that was a pretty amazing. It was a great concert, and I'd like to think that a lot of those No Nuke shows we did help get information out that led to awareness about nukes. That, I mean, when I grew up, and I'm sure Jack and Tom, you guys can relate to that. We were told that nuclear energy was the new future, and it's clean.
Oh, yeah.
And you only need a small piece of uranium. They turn into plutonium, and it will power it forever, and it heats water. I mean, right there, when you think about this new technology that heats water to make steam, we probably should have had some sort of an inkling then, but little did they know that the plutonium lasts for a couple 100,000 years. So I'd like to think that we help raise a little bit of awareness and help put the nukes out of business.
Here's a little perspective thing. When in the September of 1945, I think the surrender to Japan's surrender was, I think, on the 1st of September. I was just going into the 3rd grade. So the war was over, and I was going to the 3rd grade. The hot topic among us going to school, walking to school, arguing, was whether the bigger invention had been the atomic bomb or the ballpoint pen. And the ballpoint pen had advocates. And we thought of the atomic bomb as the size of a basketball. That's what we understood it to be, no bigger than a basketball. So against a ballpoint pen, it was not, not a big deal. And I don't remember whether I thought which was more important, but it was thought to be a legitimate topic of discussion.
Well, Tom,
among third graders.
Metaphorically speaking, it's kind of like the metaphor of the pen and the sword.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And the pen is mightier than the sword. At least we'd all like to think so.
We sure hope so.
Yes, but the ballpoint pen?
I don't know.
As opposed to the pencil or the fountain pen?
The fountain pen. The fountain pen, was the king.
How many people of the new generation do you think ever heard of such a thing as a fountain pen?
I know what it is in theory.
In theory. I love it.
Yeah,
I've heard of them.
Tom, you were pretty progressive third graders. Where did you grow up?
In Chicago.
Oh, very good.
I was in Chicago till I was 10. Then we moved to Oklahoma.
Hey, I'd like to say to you three performers, Freebo, Alice, and Tom, a few things. I just stumbled on you guys during the pandemic, and I got to be honest with you, it's really interesting. Freebo, I heard of you and Alice when you called Rory during one of her shows to invite her on your thing. I heard your name for the first time. Rory went nuts. Rory was going to rob a husband. Oh my God, Freebo called. You got to pick it up, right? She was in the middle of a live show. Tom, it was great. It was great. She's going like, oh my God, Rob left the area, right? And I'm watching this, and I had just learned about Rory like 3 weeks before that.
Yeah.
And I thought they were wonderful. And so I started following you and Alice. Alice, you have a beautiful voice. God bless
Thank you.
Good luck in the future with everything you do. And
Thank
hanging
you.
out with Freebo is a great thing. And Freebo, you are great to hear. And I'm going to listen to, I've always heard of Bonnie over the years. I never got super into her, but I'm going to try to listen more.
Oh.
Yeah. And thank you.
Oh boy.
Thank you. Thank you so much
thank
for
you,
sharing
Thomas.
that.
Well, see, since you're new to this, you haven't learned the rule, which is that we keep all of this quiet. You don't tell a lot of people about us because we keep it to ourselves.
Yeah,
Tom,
we
I
never
gotta-
broadcast anything online or anything like that. This is
Tom,
very,
I gotta
very
tell
secret.
you, I've been seeing your name in the Village Voice and for years and years and years. I'm in my early 60s, and I never I never went to any of your shows. I apologize. And in the last 3 hours, I'm kicking myself in the butt. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's great. And you've played all around in New York. I'm from Long Island, and you've probably been at my father's place and in the Village and all these, and I may be out east. I don't know, but I'm going to
I kept wondering where the hell you were.
Yeah, I'm messing people with
I
Long
said,
Island.
what? He's not here now. I mean, how many shows do I have to do before this guy comes?
Tom, you are funny. And Tom, I got to be honest with you, and Freebo as well. Besides liking the music I've heard, I got to be honest with you, I really love the backstory of many musicians and hearing you guys. Tom, you're very eloquent and you're very conversational, and I love that. Freebo as well. Rory's amazing. So I love this stuff. And one of my questions, let me just ask this. I have an affinity, say, for the Village, and it has a certain aura to me, and an affinity in other musical place. I'm a big Neil Young fan and other people, and Jack. Laurel Canyon to me is another mystical place. Woodstock. Is there a place now, like Tom mentions, all these great times in the 60s where people dropped in or whatever, right? Is there a place now? Is it still the Village? Is there other places? Could you elaborate on that as professional musicians? And I'm going to mute the mic.
For me, I don't know of any place, but I'm 83 now and I stay home a lot, particularly during the pandemic. My friends tend to be other musicians, and so we don't. Wherever we are is where we are. There's no place that I go to connect. I mean, connect on the phone. What do you, Freebo? What do you guys? What do you think?
I was going to say, and it's a great question, Tom. I mean, there definitely were scenes, and I'm guessing there still are. I mean, certainly the Village was a scene. When I started playing with Bonnie in '71, Cambridge was a scene. It was a folk scene. There have been scenes here in L.A. Nashville, I think, might still have some scenes, but certainly, like Tom said, with COVID, I mean, that's changed everything. I mean, there ain't no scene, you don't go nowhere. But I would throw this out to Jack. In the folk world, there's not one that I know of, not one particular scene, but the scenes kind of become either a festival where you go and you run into the same people at different festivals, or at some of the folk alliances.
Yeah, Folk
some
Alliance,
of the conferences,
Americana
right?
Fest. I mean, I would say, sorry, you wanted to pass that
No,
over.
go ahead.
Well, I just, I think it is different. And I grew up in Boston, so I felt that there was definitely a community, like in the Cambridge, Boston area. I have lived in Seattle. I live in Los Angeles now. And I did come out here specifically because I wanted to be around other musicians and artists. So while I think it's different because of the way that our society is so different now in so many ways, I think there are still definitely pockets where people congregate who are like-minded, and Nashville is definitely one of those places. And I, was inspired to be somewhere like LA, where at least I know that when I meet people at a party or something, if I were to ever go to a party again, like I would meet people that worked in entertainment, that, were either singers or actors or worked on a production set or something like that. And for me, having grown up around more like just your typical professional, like doctors and lawyer type folks, in my family, that was really like inspiring for me to know that there's other songwriters just in my orbit. So I think even if it's not like centered around, there aren't as many clubs, I feel like. That's kind of the problem. There aren't like when you were in Cambridge and Tom was in Cambridge, like there was 20 different places where people hung out, and I feel like people went out and saw music, and people weren't like sitting at home watching Netflix. They, like, if you wanted to see somebody, you had to go out and meet them, which is just really different now. And I worry that with COVID, people won't like get back to that for so long. So it's an interesting question.
That way, I mean, there's two things, and I want to throw it over to you, Jack, for a second. But I mean, I look at the COVID thing as two ways. One is that it will never come back to the way it was, both good and bad. The other is that if and when this thing ever approaches normality, that I think folks are going to be so hungry. So hungry to hear live music and get together that you just might see a version. You see, if everybody somehow gets vaccinated and we all feel safe, it's not just about us feeling safe as musicians. It's about is our audience going to feel safe? What are your thoughts, Jack?
Sure.
You're muted.
Here, I'm unmuted. Okay. My thought, up until the pandemic, for 62 years, I was touring hard all year long, most of the lower 48. And I watched things change. I don't think anything exists today like there was in Greenwich Village. I was not in Greenwich Village, but from what I've learned from Tom and people I've known from there, those were gathering places of musicians where people would meet. They were hotbeds of creative energy. Nowadays, the Ark, Godfrey Daniels, the Freight and Salvage, these big venues, they're just big venues. They're not gathering places.
Right. Yeah.
But there is something else, though. The rise of the house concert has created places where musicians in the area come together, they listen to other artists, but also these house concerts are creating workshops, song circles. There are little communities, little bright lights all over the country that are springing up. I mean, hundreds of them. Florida is just almost sinking into the ocean from the weight of the house concert series that are there. And there are some states, not much. Mississippi, kind of hard to find a house concert there. But even in my home state, South Carolina, there are some places where you can go, and I can't say that in the Deep South you don't find many scenes where singers, songwriters, players come together, and that ball of energy that you found in Greenwich Village exists.
Right.
I don't think it's there, but there are places, I think maybe in Seattle, maybe in San Francisco, there are little isolated pockets.
Certainly in Portland.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's
So,
like when I lived in
Kate
Seattle.
Powers and Steve Einhorn. There you
Exactly. I was going to say, when I lived in Seattle and I worked at this guitar store, Dusty Strings, like that was the center of that acoustic music world, and people would come in, and I got to meet so many of the local musicians that way. So I think, and someone said Austin. I've never been there, actually.
Well, Austin, yeah, and back when we did Bonnie's second record, 1972. By the way, Tom, if you go on Bonnie's stuff, you'll not Tom Paxton, the other Tom. You will. It'll lead you to some of the newer stuff. But if I may, check out some of the older stuff.
I was going to say, start at the beginning and go one by one from the beginning. Don't start with "I Can't Make You Love Me," although that's beautiful too.
Right.
I would say start with the first record.
Yeah, and you can see
which
the
I love
evolution. It's
so
beautiful.
much.
But back when we did that record in Woodstock at Bearsville Studio in 1972, there really was a scene, and the band was there, and Paul Butterfield was there, and Orleans, and the Fabulous Rhinestones, John Sebastian. Partly the recording studio. There were a couple places where people would hang out. You go to the Bear, you'd go to the I can't remember the name, but every night you'd go out, and just a whole bunch of musicians. And unfortunately, it was more drinking and drugging than playing. But that was a personal
And
choice.
you know what I miss too so
What's
much?
that?
I used to go to so many open mics, and that was always a place to hang out and meet people, and you'd have to stick around until your song, and so you'd be forced to talk with people, and everyone was, that's how I met people in Cambridge, by going to Club Passim. And
there's another dynamic at play too. When you mentioned Austin, it made me think of Santa Fe, Asheville, North Carolina, Boulder, Colorado. These are all scenes that at one time had a creative energy. Boulder, when I was there in the 70s, was a place. Huh? Yeah, oh yeah.
The Loggies.
Absolutely. But there, you could go to the streets there, and there were people who were gathering, who had that creative energy where they shared, not just a music store where the people happened to cross paths, but a place where people shared. And what happened is, with Boulder, we watched it become Santa Fe as the wealthy came in and looked around and said, "This is a cool place. Look at all these wonderful street people." So they all moved there, and pretty soon the taxes went up, and those people who made it so cool couldn't live there anymore.
Exactly.
And that has happened with Asheville, North Carolina recently. It's happening in Austin, Texas. In the 70s, man, what a wonderful hotbed of energy that was. Willis Allen Ramsey, Uncle Walt's band, and just great stuff. But now that doesn't happen anymore. As soon as a place becomes the place, the boom town, as Greg Brown sings about, it explodes, and the energy disperses. And all of the people that I remember people saying, "Yep, everybody in Austin that was worth anything went down to Wimberley, or they went over to Bastrop or somewhere else." So that other dynamic is at play, where people think there's a cool place with that wonderful creative energy. They buy it out.
Yeah.
And tell me,
you
Jack,
guys are making
why,
me too sad now.
why aren't we talking about Greg Brown all the time? I mean,
love
there
Why aren't
is
we?
a phenomenal. I mean, the Poet Game. Are you kidding me?
Oh God!
yeah.
It's
I
I mean,
so
that
good.
song.
Incredible.
That song breaks every rule there is. I mean, it's about 4 times longer than it should be, and you don't want to miss a verse.
It goes to so many different places.
The Poet Game to me is a perfect song.
It is.
And
Totally.
that guy, man, he is so talented.
It's interesting too that when you
humor.
Oh, it does. And one of the interesting thing about him is that I remember reading a reviewer's statement that Greg Brown sounds like he swallowed a distant thunderstorm. And then when he sang the part of the devil in Anais Mitchell's Hades Town.
Yeah.
Holy cow! So not just as a great writer, but as a great singer. And,
he's a great singer.
And a sharp
And
dresser.
I love his guitar playing too.
A sharp.
And I love.
When my wife met Greg for the first time, she said to me, "It's good that he's got music because he'd be doing a hard time without."
Oh my gosh! I remember I saw him in Seattle at the Triple Door, and he came out on stage wearing like a little skull cap, like a woolen cap, and these like big hoop earrings. I was like, I just was looking at the earrings. I was like, where did those come from?
Yeah. But
may I just,
what an artist! What an artist!
I want to get one more audience question in before we end. Carolyn, did you want to ask your question to Tom? Is she unmuting?
Unmute.
She says she is.
She's working
on it. Do you see it?
Bottom left
corner
of your screen.
There
we go.
Oh, wait. Oh, we still can't hear you. Oh, wait, Carolyn, hold on. Brandon, any thoughts?
Help us, Brandon.
Brandon, help
Muted,
us.
Carolyn.
I don't do ASL, so.
I think, Carolyn, you just don't have the right microphone selected maybe in Zoom. Are you on a computer? Yeah. Okay, so in the bottom left-hand corner where the mute microphone button is, click the little up arrow, and then there's a pop-up and you can select a different microphone. So you can try different ones.
Zoom 101 with Brandon.
Welcome to the class.
I hope this is not about my favorite
You're
color.
unmuted in Zoom, but I still can't hear you, Carolyn.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm muted now.
No, is that working?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Yes.
Okay. First of all, I want to say to Tom, well, all of you guys were singing, I was the protester. I was living at the Peace Farm in Voluntown, Connecticut, the Community for Nonviolent Alternatives. And you guys are the people that I listen to, Arlo and Pete Seeger and all of that. And it certainly brings back a lot of really fond memories hearing you guys tonight. And I wanted to know about the guitar, Tom, that you got when you were a teenager, what kind it was. And
The guitar I got as a teenager?
yes, your first guitar.
Yeah, I got a secondhand Gibson Sunburst. And I was so raw that I started with nylon strings. I had no idea about what you did, and I don't remember what happened to that guitar. I must have traded it or something, but it was a fine guitar. Oh, Gibson guitars are all good guitars. They're not Martins in my view, but they're really good guitars. So I wonder what I did with that thing. I wound up with a Goya nylon string guitar for a while. I had no idea what I was doing, nothing. But gradually, thanks to people around the gaslight, I got my head straightened out and got a hold of a Martin, and I was on my way.
Yeah, my first was with a nylon too, a little Yamaha. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
The other thing is I heard that you used to play Belafonte songs. Is that
Not
true?
really, no.
No, you
No.
didn't? You never did?
I know I sang a bit of Jamaica Farewell for my audition at the Chad Mitchell Trio, and that was about it.
Oh.
But I love classical guitar. My favorite piece of music, period, bar none, is a classical piece called Recuerdos de la Alhambras.
Oh my God,
Ooh.
Tom, that is one
which
of my
was
favorite
written by
songs
Terega.
too.
And it means Memories of the Alhambra, which is a Moorish castle in Spain.
May I
And
just
it's-
say,
it-
Tom, that I also love that song, and I studied in
Yeah.
Spain in college, and I went to the Alhambra, and it's I just listened to that song today. I just want to say.
Oh.
Okay. Continue your story.
The first time I heard that song, I was shaving. And I
wasn't.
froze. And the lather just dried on my face while I listened to that song. I must have heard it now 1,000 times. But if it came on, I would stop whatever I was doing right now and listen to it. It's the most haunting. I mean, it's so Moorish. It's like a memory of
I agree.
of a civilization that's gone. The Moors were gone from Spain by then, but they left behind the Alhambra. And Terega, Recuerdos de la Alhambros. I can't recommend it highly enough.
I just
I
put the
will look
title in
for
the
it.
chat.
Yes, do that,
Definitely.
please.
I did just put it in there.
Thank you.
It's so good. And yeah, by the way, Michael, I know you live in Alhambra, California, and one time when I had just moved to LA, I asked somebody where Alhambra was, and they were like, "What?" And it was funny because I always say things out here like in the actual pronunciation, and people look at me like I'm insane. So I learned to stop doing that.
Don't get me started. You go to New London, it's the Thames River. I refuse.
When you go to Atlanta, you go down Ponce de Leon Boulevard.
I know, it drives me crazy.
Ponce de Leon?
Oh
That's-
my God. It's so
Or
That's
in
it.
Indiana, you drive through Versailles.
Oh God.
I can't stand it. I refuse. I mean,
There's a little
it's
town near
Versailles,
Miami.
God damn it.
Go ahead.
It's
There's-
Versailles, God damn it. It's not
Yes.
Versailles.
There's a little community down by Miami that they call Naranja.
Oh my God. No.
Which is the Spanish
In
word for
Oklahoma, there's a town called Prague that was settled by Czechs, but it's called Prague, and they.
Oh no.
Yeah, you have to wonder. The
Yeah.
first time somebody said Prague, why didn't somebody say
Yeah. Excuse me.
damn it and settle that, right from the beginning?
So why doesn't anybody ever say de toi?
Good question.
I know they should. Detroit,
De
Detroit, Michigan.
You mentioned that you remembered that you were shaving when you heard that song. One of the songs that I remember, there are very few songs in my life where I can remember where I was the first time I heard them. But one of them, I was 17 years old and I lived in the Philadelphia area. Do you remember, Freebo, do you remember WMMR?
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Sure.
this was a title for a job you wouldn't use nowadays, but I worked I was a houseboy at the Howard Johnson's Motor Lodge in Maple Shade, New Jersey at 17 years of age. And they sent me to clean up a room and the radio was on and WMMR was playing and they played Victoria Dines Alone. And at that time, I didn't realize it, but I was probably struggling with adolescent ennui and depression. That song plunged me down, but it brought me right back up. It was so moving. And I remember standing in that room, probably holding a pillowcase or a towel that I was changing, listening to every word. From that moment on, I became a fan. And you played at the Main Point. Shortly after that, I made sure that I went and saw you at that show. But I can remember exactly where I was, the emotions, and what I was doing the first time I heard you sing on the radio, "Victoria Dines Alone." It was
That's
amazing.
really, I'm very moved by that. I remember being in a hotel room in Denver, packing to leave for the airport. And on the radio came a song which I learned was written by Pat Alger and Tim O'Brien, was sung by Tim, called "The Only Thing I Still Do." And I stopped what I was doing and just listened. The only thing I still do, like I used to do, is carry this torch for you. Unbelievable song. I recommend it to you. Look it up on YouTube or wherever. The Only Thing I Still Do. And the point was that I froze until that song was over. So thank you for telling me that. That was very nice.
Oh, wonderful. Well, if I may, I think it might be time to end our little gathering, but I just want to thank each of you so much for coming. Thank you for asking these wonderful questions. This has been so fun and just
for engaging with each
lovely.
other with us.
We love seeing you.
Maybe
and
the best part.
Thank
Maybe
you for
the best
being
part.
brave and coming on and asking, and just thanks Jack and Alan for telling some stories, and Thomas, and it's just so nice to see you all. And I hope that those who are still watching on Facebook and YouTube got to see what the after party's all about. Maybe you'll join us next week for
Next
Amy
week
Speece.
we have Amy Speece is next week. If you don't know who Amy Speece is, Jack and Judy.
Oh, great.
Amy's
what
gonna
a
be
voice.
amazing.
Great voice and beautiful songwriter and very interesting human being.
Can't wait to interview her. And also we have a good friend of mine is going to be coming in to do another song in the after party too. So we have an after party special guest,
Who is
Emily
that?
Emily Brown.
Oh, Emily.
She's my friend from college. Beautiful voice, and she's going to do a couple tunes. So I just I'm so glad we're doing this after party. It's been so fun. So thank you all. Thanks for your donations. We've appreciate them.
And I would say, Thomas, I'm afraid I have to diss Tom a little bit when he said, "Don't tell anybody." On the contrary, tell everybody. Tell everybody.
Tell everybody.
We want. I mean, just the way some of you stumble on this, and we love what we're doing, and we do think there's something special about it. The musician to musician interviews and the music and. Just a little different having a Zoom call. So please do tell folks. And for y'all, just know we're here every Wednesday at 5 o'clock live, 5 Pacific, 7 Central Time, Jack, 8 o'clock Eastern. And, and we love doing it. Alice, it's a pleasure doing it with you. It really is.
Likewise. Thanks, everybody. So I think we're just going to slowly fade away here. Thank you.
Tom,
we love
thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Tom Paxton.
You were wonderful.
Night, Tom.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Good night.
See you,
Bye,
Alan.
everybody.
Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye. See you next time. Rain falling across the water. Mist is rising on the mountainside. Leaves are blooming in the ash tree. Robin's looking for something sweet.